Imagine being a mom or a dad. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Imagine being a mom or dad with a kid with type 2 diabetes, knowing you need that insulin, and you don't have the insurance. You can't pay for it. I'm not joking. Think about it. Think about how it'd rip your heart out. It's wrong. It's simply wrong. And we're going to end it. Now Medicare will have the power to negotiate lower prescription drug prices. We can guarantee no senior will have to pay more than $2,000 out of pocket for their drugs for the entire year, no matter whether the bill is $50,000, no more than $2,000, period. And if you're on Medicare and you have diabetes, your cost of insulin will be capped at $35.
President Joe Biden out on the campaign trail yesterday in the swing state of Wisconsin, touting one of the benefits of the Inflation Reduction Act that he signed into law last month. Health care is just one part of the Inflation Reduction Act, which also seeks to help lower energy costs, reduce the national deficit, and ensure corporations pay their fair share in taxes. The backstory of how the bill came to be is an example of how both Joe Biden and the Democratic Party have embraced what our next guest calls the new middle out economic thinking. Joining us now, editor of The New Republic and contributing opinion writer for The New York Times, Michael Tomasky. His latest book is entitled The Middle Out, The Rise of Progressive Economics and a Return to Shared Prosperity. And it hits the shelves today.
Michael, thank you so much for being on. I have a feeling this discussion is going to be a lot like my discussion with Kurt Andersen. Kurt, obviously a progressive. I'm a small government conservative. I love the free market, but I love the free market that doesn't run wild. What I want to know is this. Why do working class Americans, why do they buy in to politicians like Trump that push tax breaks for the wealthiest billionaires, for multinational corporations, and actually make sure that those billionaires and multinational corporations don't have to pay their fair share of income taxes? I say this as a conservative. You hear it as a progressive. Why do these middle class and working class voters keep voting against their own economic interests and help the richest billionaires on the planet?
Well, it's a great question, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it. The answer to your question is that the Democrats, for the last 40 years, haven't done a very good, concerted, and effective job of explaining to those people an alternative vision of what an economy should look like and work like. And that's what they're starting to do now, and this is the story I'm trying to tell in this book. It's about changing the economic paradigm in this country. I think everybody watching this show has heard Joe Biden use that phrase. He started to use it during the campaign after the pandemic hit and used it frequently, at least through the first year of his presidency. My book explains what that means and explains that that phrase didn't just pop into Joe Biden's head one day. It came from the better part of a decade of work by literally hundreds of people, economists, people in the political realm, people in the very undercovered but quite important to efforts like this foundation and think tank world, who after the Great Recession saw that things were really bad and things were very wrong, and they said, how do we change this? How do we get a new economic thinking and footing in this country? So it's really taken that effort to bubble its way up to the White House. When a president says something like that, it's because of years of work that other people have been doing, and that's the story my book tells.
So can you also, we understand that this has been Republicans that over the past 40, 50 years that have wanted to give tax breaks to the wealthiest Americans. I'm curious, though, explain the Democrats who there are some Democrats there that fight a fairer tax system, that fight for tax breaks for hedge fund managers, for venture capitalists. Why is that?
Well, first and foremost, it's their contributions and their donors. But second of all, it's that I think they're stuck in this old way of seeing things, and they haven't come around to understand that the priorities that the Biden administration is trying to do, was trying to do in Build Back Better, for example, the subsidized child care, the free community college, the paid family leave, all of these things. You know, in old conventional thinking, those things are expenses and they're burdens. They're not. They're things that will help people achieve their fullest potential. They're things that, in other words, in my view, will give people more freedom. And this gets to the heart of what I argue in my book at the very end, that the Democrats need to redefine freedom and sell the American people a different definition of freedom than the right has been selling them for the last 40 or 50 years. Some Democrats are still stuck in this model that you just spoke of in your question to me, Joe, but I actually also see it kind of optimistically. Of the two, and I write this in the book, of the 271 elected Democratic legislators in Washington, D.C., 269 either did vote for in the House or were willing to vote for in the Senate a big package of economic changes of at least a couple $1 trillion. That wasn't remotely true 5 or 6 years ago. So, you know, they fell a little short on Build Back Better, but I still call that progress in a way.
Yeah.
All right. The new book is entitled The Middle Out. Author Michael Tomasky, thank you so much for being on the show this morning.